Maplewood, a small town where the beauty of the seasons changed quietly, was home to Sarah Thompson, who found true fulfillment in her daily work as a nurse at the local community hospital. Her routine consisted of sending her 6-year-old son, Noah, off to school in the morning, finishing her shift at the hospital, and then waiting for her husband, James, who worked as a construction site supervisor, to return home. "Mom, look, I drew this at school today." Noah held up a colorful crayon drawing with a pure smile on his face. It showed a dog, a cat, and a family surrounding them. Sarah gently stroked her son's head as she pinned the drawing to the refrigerator. "That's a lovely picture, Noah. Dad will be so happy when he sees it." However, lately, James hadn't been showing as much interest in his son's artwork as before. About 6 months ago, changes had begun to appear in him. With the excuse that work was busy, he was coming home later and increasingly spending weekends away from home, saying he had to go to work. Sarah's parents, William and Margaret Evans, lived in a quiet residential neighborhood in the same town. Now retired, their greatest joy was spending time with their grandson, Noah. At least that's how it appeared. Emily, Sarah's sister, also participated in the monthly family dinners. Emily had found success as a sales representative for a major furniture manufacturer in a nearby city, enjoying her single and free lifestyle. She was a stark contrast to her sister's domestic life. "Sarah, what do you think of this children's chair? It's from our new line, and it's selling really well." Emily had spread out the latest product catalog at last month's family dinner. At that moment, Sarah thought she caught Emily giving James a special look, but she convinced herself it was just her imagination. "It's lovely. I'm sure it would be perfect for Noah." That night, as usual, Noah was cuddling with his grandparents, sitting on William's lap as he read a picture book. However, Sarah had noticed Emily giving Noah cold glances several times. It was momentary, and she thought she might have been mistaken, but something about it left her with an uncomfortable feeling. On the drive home, James was silent. When Sarah asked, "What's wrong?" he replied, "I'm just tired." Noah had fallen asleep in the back seat. "Dad, are you busy lately?" To Noah's question, James answered briefly through the mirror, "Yes, we have a big project." The following week, William called, "Sarah, how about going hiking with the family this Saturday? Emily will be there too. Let's all enjoy nature together for the first time in a while." "That sounds nice. Noah will be thrilled. Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home?" "That's exactly what I did with stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious." "I'll ask James too," Sarah suggested it to her husband. Surprisingly, James, who would normally decline, saying, "I have work," answered, "Let's go." Noah, who loved nature, was excited about the family hiking trip. "Yay, we're going to the forest. Will we see animals too?" However, the day before departure, James called, "I'm sorry, but urgent work came up. You all go without me." Sarah was disappointed but resolved to cherish the time with her son. "It's okay, Noah. Let's enjoy ourselves even without Dad." Noah looked a bit sad but quickly recovered his spirits. The morning of the hike dawned with a clear blue sky. Sarah got up early to prepare Noah's lunch and packed drinks, snacks, and a first aid kit into a small backpack. As a nurse, she always prepared for emergencies. "Noah, are you ready?" Noah came bounding down the stairs, wearing a small jacket and hat, his eyes shining with excitement. "All ready, Mom. I brought my magnifying glass too. I'm going to observe insects." Sarah smiled at her son's curiosity and pure joy. Though she regretted that James wasn't with them, she was determined to cherish this mother-son time. The doorbell rang, and when Sarah opened the door, her parents' car was parked outside. Her father, William, was in the driver's seat, her mother, Margaret, in the passenger seat, and Emily in the back seat. Everyone was dressed for the outing, with Emily, in particular, wearing expensive hiking boots and stylish outdoor wear. "Good morning, Sarah. What wonderful weather we have." Her father William's voice sounded unusually cheerful as Sarah and Noah got into the back seat with Emily. Sarah noticed something different about the atmosphere. Her parents exchanged brief glances, and Emily was strangely tense, staring at her cell phone. "So, James couldn't make it after all," Emily said. There seemed to be something hidden in her voice that Sarah couldn't quite make out. "Yes," he said. "Urgent work came up. It's disappointing, but it can't be helped." "Yes, it can't be helped." Emily's response seemed a bit too quick. As the car left town and climbed the mountain road toward the forest, her parents were unusually talkative. Margaret, in particular, kept repeating, "Today will be a special day." Sarah felt uncomfortable with these words but thought it was just expectation for a pleasant family outing. Noah was absorbed in the scenery outside the window, pointing at passing trees and rocks, repeatedly asking, "What's that, and what's this?" Grandfather William answered his grandson's questions more enthusiastically than usual, occasionally exchanging glances with Margaret through the rearview mirror. After driving for about an hour, the car turned onto a narrow, unpaved road. Sarah realized this was an unfamiliar route. "Dad, where are we going?" When Sarah asked, William shrugged, "I found a different route." Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story. It's a place tourists don't visit much. The view is amazing. The car finally stopped at a small, undeveloped parking area. There were no other cars around, and silence dominated the area. As everyone got out of the car and shouldered their backpacks, Sarah felt uneasy again. Her parents and Emily had too little luggage for a long hike. "Dad, are you sure this trail is okay?" "There's nobody here," Sarah asked worriedly. "Don't worry, Sarah. This place is a hidden gem. The view from the top is breathtaking," William answered with confidence. "That's right, Sarah. Trust us. We just wanted to show you a special place," Margaret added. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes seemed to be saying something else. Noah was already under a nearby tree, searching through fallen leaves. "Mom, look, I found a pretty stone." Sarah went to her son and shared in his small discovery. Meanwhile, Emily kept checking her phone repeatedly. "Emily, you keep looking at your phone. Are you in contact with someone?" When Sarah asked, Emily looked up with obvious surprise. "Huh. No, I was just checking the time." Emily's voice rose slightly. "The time? Is something happening?" "No, nothing. It's just a habit." Emily quickly put her phone away. The hike began, and the group proceeded along a narrow path through the forest. The trail gradually became steeper, and Sarah was glad that she and Noah had come with proper equipment. In contrast, she was becoming concerned about her parents and Emily's attire. "Why are you so lightly dressed for a long hike?" When Sarah asked her mother, Margaret waved her hand to indicate there was nothing to worry about. "We'll be fine. Just going there and back. Besides, today is a special day." That phrase again. Sarah tilted her head but thought she should catch up with Noah, who was walking ahead, holding hands with his grandfather. The sky, occasionally visible through the trees, was still blue and clear, but clouds of anxiety were gathering in Sarah's heart. She felt uncomfortable with the glances exchanged between her parents and Emily, the unnatural conversation, and, most of all, their behavior that was so different from a normal hike. The path suddenly opened up, and they emerged near a steep cliff. A deep valley spread out below, with the glimmer of a small lake visible in the distance. Wind blew strongly, and Sarah instinctively gripped Noah's hand tightly. She had a fear of heights, and her legs froze just being near the cliff. "It's beautiful, Mom." Noah was captivated by the scenery. "Look, Noah, can you see the lake in the distance?" William placed his hand on Noah's shoulder, trying to guide him toward the cliff. "Dad, that's dangerous. Keep Noah away from the cliff." Sarah's voice clearly contained fear. "It's all right, Sarah. I just want to show him the view." William's voice feigned calmness, but his eyes were cold and determined. "Noah, come here," Sarah called out strongly. Noah responded to his mother's voice and tried to move away from his grandfather. At that moment, Sarah felt Emily approaching her. She noticed that Emily's expression had changed completely. Mother Margaret also stood unnaturally behind William and Emily. The three of them seemed to be surrounding Sarah and Noah. A sudden silence fell, with only the sound of the wind drifting around them. Surrounded by her parents and Emily, a cold fear ran down Sarah's spine. The wind tousled her hair, and the view beyond the cliff was beautiful, but that was the least of her concerns now. Just as she tried to pull Noah to her side, Emily suddenly grabbed Sarah's arm. Her sister's fingers dug into her skin, causing pain. "Sarah, there's something I want to show you." Emily's voice pretended to be calm, but her eyes held a cruelty that Sarah had never seen before. "What? Emily? Let Noah come to me first." Sarah desperately reached out toward her son. "No, I want to show Noah too." Emily's mouth twisted eerily. Just as Sarah tried to shake off Emily's hand, Father William picked up Noah. As Noah's small body left the ground, he exclaimed in surprise, "Grandpa!" Sarah screamed in terror, "Let go of Noah. What are you trying to do?" Sarah's scream echoed through the forest, startling birds into flight. As if in response, Mother Margaret abruptly moved behind her. "Sarah, you were always a good child." Margaret's voice was strangely gentle, but sometimes sacrifices are necessary for the family. With those words, Margaret pushed Sarah forcefully toward the cliff. Caught off guard, Sarah lost her balance and staggered several steps toward the edge of the cliff. As her feet nearly left the ground, understanding flashed through her mind like lightning. Her family was trying to kill her and Noah. Before her eyes, frozen with fear, Father William made a motion as if to throw Noah toward the cliff. Noah's scream pierced Sarah's ears. "Mom!" That voice awakened the maternal instinct dormant within Sarah. Forgetting even the danger to her own life, she desperately lunged to grab and hold her son. The moment her fingers touched Noah's jacket, Emily pushed her strongly from behind. "Why?" Sarah's scream vanished into the sky. Sarah and Noah fell from the cliff. During the fall, Sarah instinctively held Noah tight, shielding her son with her body. The two of them tumbled down, hitting trees and rocks along the cliff face. Sharp pain shot through Sarah's entire body, and her vision flickered. "Noah, Noah," calling her son's name, she curled her body to somehow protect him. Each impact assaulted her back, shoulders, and legs, but she never let go of Noah. With a final major impact, they were violently slammed to the ground. Intense pain shot through Sarah's body, and for a moment, she nearly lost consciousness, but the desire to ensure her son's safety pulled her back from the sea of unconsciousness. When Sarah opened her eyes, Noah was trembling slightly under her body. Her entire body screamed with pain, and her right leg and left arm had become immobile. They were probably broken. But strangely, Noah, protected by her body, seemed to have escaped serious injury. "Noah, are you okay?" Sarah's hoarse voice was barely audible. Noah answered in a small, trembling voice, "Mom, are you okay?" "Noah, are you hurt?" Sarah desperately tried to check her son's body. "It hurts a little, but I'm okay." Noah's voice was shaking but steady. Voices could be heard from the cliff above. Sarah looked up, taking great care not to move her neck. She could see her parents and Emily peering down from the edge of the cliff. In the twilight, their silhouettes appeared black and ominous. "Can you see? Are they moving?" Her mother Margaret's voice carried on the wind. "No, they don't seem to be moving," her father William's low voice answered. "We need to check. We have to go down." Emily's voice had a hint of urgency. Sarah instinctively hugged her son tighter and closed her eyes. If they came down and found them still alive, the thought was too terrifying. At that moment, the words Noah whispered in his mother's ear nearly stopped Sarah's heart. "Mom, we shouldn't move yet." Sarah was amazed at the words of her 6-year-old son. Noah had understood the situation and realized they needed to play dead. Despite her surprise at her son's wisdom, Sarah did as he suggested. She remained still, and Noah likewise remained perfectly still in his mother's arms. After a moment of silence, Emily's voice was heard again from the cliff above. The wind had grown stronger and mixed with the sound of swaying trees. Their conversation reached them in fragments. "It's too dangerous to go down. They don't seem to be moving anymore." Emily's voice had a strange relief mixed in. "Let's leave them as they are. Nobody will come here." Father William's voice was calm, as if they were discussing a mere accident cleanup. "I really never thought it would come to this." Mother Margaret's voice sounded slightly shaken. However, it wasn't guilt but rather anxiety about the change in plans. And then, Emily's next words froze Sarah's heart. "Don't regret it now. James and I are free." We'll get the insurance money, and the obstacles are gone. We never needed that child in the first place. Sarah couldn't believe her ears. Her husband, James, and her sister, Emily. Insurance money. In her mind, the events of the past few months began to rapidly connect. James's late returns home, Emily's unnatural glances, and this hiking trip. It had all been planned. Her husband and sister were having an affair and were trying to kill her and Noah to get the insurance money, and even her parents had participated in the plan. Sarah trembled with intense anger, fear, and the sadness of betrayal, but now, suppressing her emotions and protecting Noah was the priority. She remained motionless, continuing to hold her son. After a while, they could hear footsteps moving away from the cliff above. Sarah and Noah continued to play dead until they were sure the others had gone. As the sun began to set behind the mountains and dark shadows began to fall on the forest, Sarah finally spoke to her son in a small voice. "Noah, you noticed well." "If I hadn't said anything," Noah answered in a trembling voice, "I heard Auntie talking on the phone with Dad before. She said they were planning something bad." Sarah was surprised at her son's intelligence but felt her heart breaking at the terrible truth. Noah had already noticed something was wrong, and now he had nearly become a victim of that horrifying plan. To somehow save themselves, Sarah tried to take out her cell phone, enduring the pain. However, the phone had been shattered by the impact of the fall. Looking around, they were in a deep valley. There was no sign of people from above, and the path leading down was unclear. Once the sun set, the situation would become even more difficult. "Noah, listen. We need to get out of here, but I can't move my body. Can you walk?" Sarah checked her son's condition. Noah bravely answered, "Yes, Mom. I'll go get help." "No, I can't let you go alone. Let's move together." Little by little, Sarah decided, no matter how painful it was, she couldn't leave her son alone, especially now after being betrayed by her family. A life-or-death escape awaited Sarah and Noah, but as she gripped her son's small hand, she strengthened her determination to survive. They had been betrayed by their family and brought to the brink of death, but supporting each other, they took their first step forward. Enduring pain and fear to somehow survive, Sarah and Noah slowly made their way down the steep slope below the cliff. Sarah's right leg and left arm were in severe pain, probably broken. She bit her lip to endure the pain while moving little by little, relying on Noah. "Mom, it's flatter over here." Noah went ahead of his mother, looking for a safe path with bravery and calmness beyond his 6 years. Noah was helping his mother. Sometimes he gathered branches from the surrounding trees to make a makeshift crutch for Sarah. "Noah, tell me if you get tired. We can rest, okay?" Sarah worried about her son. "I'm fine, Mom. I'm strong," Noah answered, puffing out his chest. In that small back, Sarah felt an incredible reliability that nearly moved her to tears. By moonlight, they continued walking through the forest for hours. Sarah's watch was still working and showed it was past 11 p.m. Noah looked tired but never complained. "Let's rest a little." Sarah sat down under a large tree. Noah sat next to her, nestling in his mother's arms. "Mom, will Dad not come back anymore?" Noah's small voice echoed in the darkness. Sarah was at a loss for words. How could she explain that her husband had tried to kill them, that he was having an affair with her sister, that it was for insurance money? How could she make a 6-year-old child understand these things? "Noah, Dad," Sarah carefully chose her words, "Dad won't be able to live with us anymore, but it's okay. I'll always protect you." Noah nodded silently and snuggled closer to his mother. "Grandpa and Grandma too?" "Yes, them too. Aunt Emily said she and Dad would go somewhere together after we were gone." Sarah stroked her son's head, holding back tears. Noah had understood the situation from the adults' conversations. Her heartache that such a burden had been placed on such small shoulders. "But it's okay. We're alive, and we'll always be together," Sarah said firmly. After a short rest, they began walking again. By daybreak, they finally reached the main hiking trail where people passed. In the morning light, the mother and son, covered in sweat, dirt, and full of wounds, caught the eye. A middle-aged couple hiking there exclaimed, "Oh my, are you all right?" The man rushed over. "Please help us. We fell from a cliff." Sarah was finally able to ask others for help. The man's wife immediately called an ambulance, and Sarah and Noah were wrapped in blankets and given water. They were kind enough to share their hiking food and stayed with him until the ambulance arrived. "How did you fall from a cliff?" When the man asked, Sarah hesitated for a moment. "I'll tell the police everything later," was all she answered. The ambulance arrived at the forest entrance, and Sarah and Noah were taken to the hospital. According to the doctor's diagnosis, as expected, Sarah had multiple fractures in her right leg and left arm, as well as internal bleeding and bruises all over her body. However, her life was not in danger. Noah, too, had miraculously escaped with only minor bruises and scratches. "Your mother was like a cushion for you," the doctor smiled at Noah. "She's a brave mother." While Sarah was receiving treatment and resting, there was a knock on the hospital room door. It was Detective Carter from the local police. He introduced himself in a gentle tone and expressed concern for Sarah's condition. "Mrs. Thompson, are you able to talk? Can you tell me what happened on the mountain?" Sarah took a deep breath and began to tell everything. The hiking plan, her parents and Emily's behavior, the moment they were pushed off the cliff. She also relayed Emily's words, "Now James and I are free. We'll get the insurance money." Detective Carter responded calmly, though surprised, continuing to take notes. "We've contacted your husband, James, but he hasn't arrived yet," the detective said. "He's also part of the plan. He was apparently having an affair with my sister." Sarah spoke the painful truth. Outside the hospital room, Noah was talking with a child psychologist. He also explained the events in his own words and further detailed the content of phone calls he had heard between his aunt and father over the past few weeks. Noah's testimony matched his mother's account, and the nature of the incident became clearer. Due to Detective Carter's swift investigation, James, Emily, and both of Sarah's parents were all arrested the next day. The interrogation revealed a horrifying plan. James and Emily had been in a secret relationship for 2 years and had planned to kill Sarah to obtain her $3 million life insurance policy. They had planned to eliminate Noah as well, since he could potentially be a witness. Sarah's parents had been promised $500,000 by James to participate in the plan. The trial began, and Sarah had to face her husband and family. She appeared in court in a wheelchair but stood at the witness stand with strong determination. "The people I trusted most, my husband, my parents, my sister, they tried to take my life and my son's, but we survived because true strength lies in love. The bond between my son and me was stronger than their malice." Her words resonated throughout the courtroom, and sobs could be heard from the gallery. Noah, too, bravely took the witness stand despite being a child. "Grandpa and Grandma pushed, and Mom protected me. Dad and Auntie are bad people." His simple words carried a powerful truth. In the defendant's box, James and Emily hung their heads, but Sarah's parents tried to stand up to say something. However, they were forced into silence by the judge's restraint. As a result of the trial, James, Emily, and both of Sarah's parents were all found guilty. James and Emily received 25-year prison sentences for attempted murder, and Sarah's parents were sentenced to 15 years. When leaving the courthouse, Sarah was now using crutches. Her body was gradually recovering, but the wounds in her heart didn't seem likely to heal easily. Nevertheless, she gripped Noah's small hand firmly, determined to move forward step by step toward a new future. "Mom, what are we going to do now?" Noah asked. "A new beginning, Noah. We're going to start a new life, just the two of us." Sarah had received tremendous support from her nursing colleague, Rachel, whom she had met during her recovery period at the hospital. Rachel herself was a domestic violence survivor and deeply empathized with Sarah's situation. "Sarah, I'm moved by the strength of you and Noah. What are you going to do now?" Rachel asked. "I haven't decided clearly yet, but I think Noah and I need a new beginning. My sister lives in a mountain town. Her town is a wonderful place. It might be perfect for a new start." Sarah began to seriously consider Rachel's suggestion. Noah was also positive about going to a new place. "Mom, are we going to a new house? Will I make friends?" Noah asked hopefully. "I'm sure you will, Noah. We're together, so we can overcome anything." Sarah was standing at the edge of fate's cliff again, just as when she had fallen from the real cliff, but this time, she had the courage to move forward with her son. She looked up at the sky and felt freedom. No one could hurt them anymore. She had learned the true meaning of family through a severe ordeal. On the day the trial verdict was delivered, the courtroom was wrapped in a solemn atmosphere. Sarah sat quietly, waiting for the judge's words. Next to her, a social worker accompanied Noah. When the verdict was read, a moment of silence flowed through the courtroom, but suddenly, James stood up and shouted at Sarah, "It's your fault. You ruined everything." Emily shouted just as loudly, "I'm more suitable for James than you. That child is weak and useless, just like you." As guards restrained the two, Sarah quietly closed her eyes. Her parents silently bowed their heads, but there was no color of regret in their eyes. Sarah looked at them one last time and bid farewell in her heart. 3 months later, Sarah and Noah had moved to a small mountain town. They were renting a room in a guest house run by Rachel's sister, Laura, and starting a new life. Sarah had begun working as a nurse at a local clinic, and Noah had started at a new school. "Noah, how's school? Have you made new friends?" Sarah asked her son one evening. "Yes, I play with Liam and Ethan, but sometimes I remember that time and get scared," Noah answered honestly. "I feel the same." Sarah hugged her son. "But remember, we'll get through it together." Sarah and Noah regularly attended therapy, facing their trauma. Sometimes they were haunted by nightmares, but they felt they were healing little by little. One day, the principal of the town's elementary school, Michael Reed, visited the clinic. He had come to report on Noah's progress at school. "Your son is truly remarkable, to be so positive and caring despite everything he's been through." Sarah smiled. "Thank you. Noah is my pride." Over the next few weeks, Michael occasionally stopped by the clinic. He was kind and showed genuine interest in Sarah and Noah. Sarah gradually began to open her heart to him. Meanwhile, in a distant prison, the bonds of the former family had completely collapsed. The relationship between James and Emily had developed cracks in prison life, and Sarah's parents continued to justify their actions. They never reached true repentance but rather deepened their hatred. A year later, on Noah's 8th birthday, Sarah held a small party. Laura, Rachel, Michael, and school friends attended. The party house was filled with cake, presents, and the laughter of children. Michael stood next to Sarah and spoke quietly. "Sarah, I'm truly impressed by the strength of you and Noah. You've taught me that there are things more precious than blood ties." Sarah gazed out the window at the sunset over the distant mountains. "We've learned that family is something you choose. True family exists where there is love, trust, and respect." She turned her eyes back to her son's smiling face. From the terror and despair of being thrown off a cliff, they had climbed up together, hand in hand, and were now finding new bonds, a family. Sarah was certain. True family is not about blood ties but about bonds of love that protect and support each other. She and Noah were living proof of that.